What's up? Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Aslan Hunter-Vandy, joined by founder and administrator of Warchant.com, Gene Williams, and senior lead writer, columnist, co-host of Wake Up Warchant, Brady Clark's father, Corey Clark. We're all here for you doing our virtual happy hour. If you're watching this on YouTube, which you all are watching it on YouTube, go ahead and hit a like button, a little thumbs up. It matters. That's how we keep score. Also, the subscribe button on the YouTube channel would be much appreciated. Gentlemen, cheers to you all. I'm going to partake. Just got off the golf course. So I need a little vitamins and minerals.
How'd you shoot?
There you go.
How'd you shoot, Aslan?
Bad, Gene. It was bad.
You're supposed to hit the thumbs up, not the thumbs down.
I literally did not hit one good shot. I did not hit one good shot. It was terrible.
Thanks.
Ooh, this feels so much better, nice and cool and relaxed.
That's the thing about golf, because usually, you play awful, but you hit 2 shots good the whole time. That's all you remember.
Yeah, that'll bring you back.
Yeah, but I didn't even have one. So,
Oof,
anyhow, we'll open the phone lines here in a minute. But obviously, with everything going on with college athletics, the Big Ten yesterday announcing that they're going to go to a conference-only schedule if they do play a fall football season. Our own Irish O'Fell, who'll be joining us here momentarily, senior or rather managing editor, broke some news yesterday about Florida State feeling the financial pinch now. And feels like they probably put things off as much as they could, Gene, but eventually had to furlough and sort of reshuffle some things. And there's many more details over on warchant.com. But I don't know. I mean, did you want to talk about the conference-only schedule? Or, I mean, did that uplift you at all? Did that buoy you like it did for Corey and I? Or were the financial numbers that Florida State kind of threw out today from athletics director David Coburn a little bit of a tempering of the enthusiasm?
Well, let's get the ugly part out of the way, because, I mean, the budget, it's obviously not a fun happy hour topic, so let's do it right now. Yeah, just within the last hour, David Coburn sent out a letter giving some more details on the budget cuts that Ira talked about yesterday, and that was there are going to be 25 jobs cut or eliminated. So he went into more detail on that. So there's going to be a 20% cut across the board in athletics, and Ira put in there it's going to probably be somewhere around $20 million, somewhere in that range is going to be cut out of the budget. And some of the details on this, employees making over $150,000 will have a 10% reduction in their salaries. Between 72 and 150, basically, it's a 7.5% cut. And then it's 5% for, really kind of the rest if you make 43,000 or more. And David Coburn also left open the possibility of furloughs going forward. So this is, unfortunately, this is the new reality that we're seeing. Florida State was on a downward trajectory financially. Obviously, what's happened with the pandemic, missing out on spring sports, and we expect, we'll talk about in a minute, a limited schedule and probably limited fans in the stands, assuming there even is a season. It's just going to further exacerbate this. So this is probably just the beginning, unfortunately, of a lot of tough decisions and a lot of pain that's going to go on in terms of people whose livelihoods depend on college sports.
And also, I don't know if it says it in there or not, but we know that many, at least some people lost their jobs. It's not all just pay cuts and furloughs.
Yeah, 25.
25 people lost their jobs. So that was another, cost measure that really, really hurts. I mean, it hurts. I'm sure we know some of those people, and it's another bummer in a 4-month-long siege of bummers.
Yep. It sucks. That's another way to say it.
Yeah, David Teal, I guess the scribe, the senior scribe of the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC. Also, I guess Gene, you said had some bleak information too, at least in terms of the overall. So this is not a Florida State thing. Obviously, I think everybody realizes that everybody's feeling the pinch, but maybe even the other 13 schools in the ACC are also going to be a little bit underwhelmed from some of the payout stuff, right?
Yeah, the hits just keep coming. This, again, just came out within the last hour, and we're always following the distributions. I guess once those tax returns become public, they come out. And USA Today had this, and David Teal followed up on some of this too. And, so there's a surprising thing. There's a dip, I think a 2% drop in the ACC's distribution from what it was the year before. And this is one of those things, if you follow the Orange Bowl, when they cycle into the playoffs, you don't get that automatic ACC berth in the Orange Bowl, and to get that money from the Orange Bowl. So that's what it's attributed to. But the scary thing, even schools like the Pac-12, who have all kind of problems, that they're still outpacing the ACC right now in terms of distribution per member by several $1 million. And the gap, obviously, between the SEC and the Big Ten, which is 50-something million now, their distribution is just getting wider and wider. So it's a scary time. Notice what Ira does. We're depressing people, talking about these horrible financial things. We're wrapping it up. Now Ira comes in with a drink. He's going to make everybody happy. Anyway, that's that. So that's a brief thing on that. I mean, we've got a link up on Warchant. on the message boards of that. And I'm sure we'll be writing more about the distribution issues with the ACC and other conferences here shortly.
Hey, Ira or Gene, I don't know if you guys know this, but I thought it was odd that maybe they all have this, but why does the payout range from 27 million to 34 million? They're not all equal? The payouts aren't equal among the member schools?
I think it depends on, from what I remember, I think part of it depends on like what your bowl expenses were and some things like that. Remember, they used to do it all equally, but then like if FSU went to a bowl game that was far away,
right,
they end up getting less money than a school that didn't make a bowl game. So I think part of it's they figure there's other expenses that are kind of factored into it.
Wouldn't you think that like Clemson would be at the top? Like Clemson would be the one that's at 34 million?
Well, they are.
Okay.
Clemson's 34 million in this distribution. The bottom team was North Carolina at 27.6.
Okay.
And I guess the average is 28.6, somewhere in there. I don't see a reference specifically for Florida State, but I guess there's probably somewhere in that 28, 29 range.
Dude, look,
I think Warchant
781 million. Good grief, 55.6 million to each of their 14 schools in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
ACC with 27.6.
They've almost doubled the ACC. That's scary.
Oh, goodness, man. So are we also going to be Minnesota Golden Gopher fans like on the side? Should we start maybe looking to broaden our reach and scope?
That's right. Same colors, close enough.
All right.
So before you came on, we addressed the budget cuts in Coburn's letter. I just kind of went through the highlights. I don't know if there's anything else you want to address on that topic. Obviously, all this stuff has come out within the last hour.
Yeah, I mean, just to put a dollar figure to it. I don't know if you have done that or not, but last year's budget for FSU was about $108 million. So if 20% would be about $22 million from this coming budget, assuming it was the same. And I think we've had some indications the budget was actually going to be a little higher.
I heard 25, yeah.
Yeah, so it could have been about a $25 million cut overall. So it's talking about a lot of money. And this is all if they play some sort of football season. I mean, it's an ugly time for college athletic programs. But it also explains why it's the ACC also announced today they're going to wait till the end of July to make a decision, because this is something that they can't. They probably need to take as much information, take as much time possible compared to the Big Ten, which obviously appears to be pretty flush with money.
We should call this the unhappy hour.
Well,
this is reality, though. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not making fun of anyone. It's just it's unhappy. None of this news is good. None of this news is happy.
Let's move on. Let's figure out.
Yeah, let's talk about the upcoming. Let's talk about that West Virginia game.
We'll go ahead and open the phone lines, 850-792-5730. Also taking your comments from the Travel Council on warchant.com. Use that promo code WARCHANT30 for 30 free days of access to the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. And we'll take some of the comments here on YouTube. I don't know. I mean, so are you buoyed, Ira? Gene, are you buoyed? Like, does the Big Ten say they're going to do conference only? Is that a step in the right direction? I think it is. Somebody needed to make a decision, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. So I'm on board with it.
Yeah, I think it's looking less than this. And a lot of it's the last few weeks. I don't think we were thinking they were going to play the full schedule as it was set out, including that West Virginia game. So I think it's actually good news that there's a plan in place to do some things. And I think this gives you flexibility. I wrote about my story that was up on Warchant yesterday about the different scenarios. It gives you that consistency. I think that's one of the things you're afraid. Everybody's got different protocols in place for COVID testing and how you handle your student athletes and their interactions with staff and everybody else. You start mixing conferences and that all gets thrown out the window. So at least this way the conference has a little bit more control over things. And I think some flexibility too. That's part of the thing too. Do they do a situation where they start up in September and give some bye weeks, mix that in so some teams can, if there's a cancellation or some spikes here and there, they can do things, or do they put it off to October? But I do think it gives the conferences more control and more flexibility to have an actual fall football season, which I think we all agree we want to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, it was kind of inevitable that they were going to do something like this. It is funny that everybody's kind of mad at the Big Ten for jumping out and doing what they want to do and not worrying about everybody else. When all these conferences, I mean, that's kind of the whole problem. One of the main problems with college athletics is that they're all independent entities. There's not a commissioner. They don't have a collective bargaining agreement. A few years ago, Florida, the ACC raided the Big East and basically crippled the Big East. Other conferences, the Big Ten went after Maryland, the SEC went after Missouri and Texas A&M. I mean, they've all kind of tried to cannibalize each other. So it's very much in line with what these conferences do, what the Big Ten did. And, again, I think the other conferences just wanted more time to try to figure it out.
All right. Well, let's get to the phone line, see what the fans want to know about. If I can actually hit the button. Welcome on into the Warchant.com happy hour. Who we got?
Hey, gentlemen. It's Gator Kirk. How are you guys?
Nice, buddy. We were getting worried about you, man.
What's up,
GK.
What's up, G? What's going on in Virginia?
It's getting hot and humid, just like down in Florida.
Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. What's going on, G? How do you feel, man? Or do you think we're that much closer to a football season now with the Big Ten announcing they're going to do this conference-only thing, or does it not matter?
With 2020, and that's supposed to be really good vision, I don't think we have a handle on anything right now. I'm hoping at least we have a conference schedule and we can get through that so we can see the Norvell product and, maybe get some higher rated recruits and things like that.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That would be nice.
What's on your mind, G?
I'm not going to ask y'all a football question today because, just all of the news. So I'm going to ask you, if you had one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, there we go. Corey.
My thought we've all thought about that. My thought all along was to be able to fly, because I don't like flying on my own, but then I'm thinking, okay, would I feel any more comfortable being like 10,000 feet in the air just by myself? And wouldn't it be really cold up there? Like I'd have to wear like a burqa or like a big like a parka. Parka, not a burqa. A parka. I'd have to be dressed like I'm skiing. So that wouldn't be fun. So I think it would be invisibility.
So you went for the creepy option.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could be sitting right next to you, Gene.
Did you not see the Invisible Man movie that came out not too long ago?
I did not see that.
That's why I'm thinking when you say invisibility, that's what comes to mind.
I like invisibility. That's my superpower.
I think I'd like to. I think all those ones where you're like super strong and things like that, people are going to expect a lot of you. Like you got to go save so many.
Yeah.
I mean, you stop like trains and like lift buildings off of children. I'm going for something that's kind of low key. No, maybe I'm the only one that knows I have it. Is the ability to read minds and know what people are really thinking. And I think I'll use it. Well, I'm going to use that for financial reasons. I'll know if you're planning to cut my salary, Gene. I'll know if
right.
I'll be able to see these things ahead of. So that's where I'm going to go. I just think, man, being a superhero, man, I think there's a lot of pressure there.
What if you did read Gene's mind and you saw that he was thinking about cutting your salary? What good would that do you? How do you get him to stop doing it?
I could pin something bad on you.
Oh, okay, fair.
I could
that would open up some extra cash for IRO.
I could proactively blame you guys for some stuff, and and then plead my case. Without even knowing it ahead of time, I could. X-ray vision's good, but a little creepy too. They're all creepy.
Think of the blackmail options you have, though, if you're invisible. Like if I just watch Gene 24 hours, the blackmail options I would have on anyone.
What are you assuming Gene's doing when you're not there?
Not Gene. Gene was a bad example. Yeah. I meant anyone.
You guys picking on me.
Sorry. We're worried about our job.
You're going to creep around the man cave invisible and watch me.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, I think I got you guys one-upped on this one because I would time travel. So that way I can undo any mistake. With all the thing you're saying with IRA to find these financial advantages or whatever. I mean, you go back, I can see what the stock market was, or I can go in the games, I can bet on every game.
It's pretty good.
Do whatever I want. So, I mean, and I could change mistakes.
You could go to that wet market in China.
Yeah, there you go. I could prevent
months ago.
Hey, go dial up Trump and everybody else and say, hey, don't keep that whole thing in China. Don't let it go. Yeah. There we go. I could solve the world's problems and make myself flush with cash. So there we go.
Aslan, what you got?
I was going to do teleportation, man. I think teleportation, just boom, let me be on an island. Let me be back in Bali.
Yeah, that's probably the best one. That's better
than a lot of travel costs. I like that one.
Yeah. But again, like all of those things, it's like you'd feel compelled to go stop and save people, and
No.
if you heard there was going to be a volcano in some village, you'd be like, oh, I got to go get there. I got to go save those people. You would be on call 24 hours a day. It would be difficult, man.
I don't think so. I don't think teleportation. It's not like you get the future. You just there's a volcano on fire. Wow, you're not going to teleport there. It's already happened.
Well, he's going to go there to save people.
No, he's not. He's going to go to Hawaii to be on the beach. That's all he cares about.
You could hide some of these. That's the thing. You could teleport someplace, and I can time travel, not tell anybody.
I could be invisible and just ride on y'all's back.
G,
No I'm there.
G, what would your superpower be, man?
No, that's what I said. Time travel.
Time travel?
Oh, he's asking.
Oh,
That
G,
way
not G. Okay.
I could get to Tallahassee to watch some games. If I wanted to go surf in Costa Rica, I could be there in an instant.
There you go.
Things like that.
There
I
you
think
go.
teleportation would be, or, if I'm in a troubling situation, I could just get out of it really quick.
There you
I
go.
like that.
So get away from whatever trouble I'm getting in very quickly.
Right on. All
Hey,
right,
that's what, if you could time travel, you could take a mulligan every time you hit a bad shot. No one would
do
know.
that as well. Could do that as well. All right, G, we appreciate the
All
calls
right.
always, man.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a great evening and a great weekend. And as always, go Knowles.
That's right. That
See you,
is-
GK.
The one thing I wouldn't do is Aquaman's superpowers. I mean, what does that do for anyone? Oh, I can talk to fish. Great. That's going to make a huge difference. You have an aquarium, don't you, Ira?
We did. We kind of gave up. We had one fish that just would not die, and we're like, I don't even know if we fed it for the last 6 months. It just would
See,
not.
and if you were Aquaman, you could have a conversation with it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, we got a phone call. I was going to take this question from Ryan O'Malley. Somebody asked us this on Renegade Express. I don't think so, Ryan O'Malley. Yeah. I mean, don't waste the tragedy, but I don't think we can get out of this contract. It's not happening. Let's say.
Yeah.
Welcome on into the Warchant.com happy hour. Who do we got here on the phone line?
This is Coleman Noleman, first-time caller.
All right, welcome.
And thank you. I'm calling from Raleigh, North Carolina, but I just moved up here a couple months ago, lived in Florida. Appreciate your guys' show. Appreciate Warchant very much. So anyway, a couple things that I've got. One is I know Warchant ran something not long ago about disappointing losses in FSU's history. And so I'm an alum. I'm an old-time alum. And so all the other disappointing losses that were mentioned really are only for second place. The most disappointing loss in FSU history has to be the 1972 FSU Florida game. FSU goes into the game 5-0. Florida's 0-5. FSU, I think, is number 11 in the country. They got Gary Huff, Barry Smith. Florida has nothing. They're 0-5. They're in the bottom 10, which was something at that time. We turn the ball. We start the game. I actually slept out overnight at the ticket office to get tickets. It was a packed house because we were finally going to beat Florida.
Wow.
We turned the ball over, I think, 5 times in the first half, 9 times overall. Matt Moore, who was a wide receiver for the Dolphins, was a running back for Florida at that time. And they ended up beating us 42-13. And that really started the downslide because in 73 and 74, we were, I think, 1-21 my last 2 years at FSU.
Oh, man.
That's got to be the most disappointing loss. That's got to be the most disappointing loss in FSU history, but nobody remembers it. But I
just looked it up. I just looked up the results. So, yeah, they were 4-0, and they were ranked 11th in the country, and they threw 4 interceptions. Florida also fumbled 6 times and recovered all of them. And, we're down – at one point in the fourth quarter, they were down 42-7. They ended up losing 42-13 to an awful Florida team.
Wow.
Awful.
Yeah, Barry Smith had a big day. He was 10 catches for 158 yards. My man Gary Huff was 27 of 58 passes in 1972.
Yeah.
And threw 4 interceptions and 325 yards.
Florida State had
good.
10
He
more
was a great
first downs
quarterback.
than them. That's crazy.
Yeah, 10 more first downs. I mean, they kind of dominated, but the 4 interceptions.
Hey, let the guy who was there talk a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'm just. Yeah, it was an unbelievable debacle. It was horrible. But anyway, I don't want to make a downer. There's enough down stuff going on, but I just got to believe that is the most disappointing loss in FSU history. At least it is for me. I've lived all the losses, all the heartbreaks, The 1987 Miami game, I think, was second for me, but the most disappointing one was that one for sure. It was like, oh man, I couldn't believe it.
Hey,
But-
can I ask you one quick question? Did you and did people in the stands stay for the whole game? Like today, there's no way people stay for that whole game. What was it like?
Yeah, we stayed for the whole game. I mean, we couldn't believe it. The thing about it was they got up 14-0 at the end of the first half, and then Huff took us down the field, and we scored 14-7. So everybody was like, all right. Second half, we're going to blow them out. But the second half was just more the same of the first half, and we just couldn't believe it. You know, it was just unbelievable. And I don't think FSU ever recovered. Like I said, the next year was the chicken wire scandal, and Larry Jones got fired, and we ended up going 1-21 the next 2 years. But I think what started it all was that Florida game. I really do.
Look at that.
But anyway, another question that I've got. It's not really a question, but as I read all your guys' comments and things like that, and the articles that you're writing, and as I listen to Norvell and the staff, is it just me, or is this staff really, really impressive? They just seem really impressive. Just their integrity, just their passion, their care for the kids, their work ethic. I mean, just everything about them to me seems like top drawer. Now, is that just persona, or is that real life for the way you guys see it?
Well, the way I would answer that is they are very impressive from what we've seen. Norvell is very impressive. Every single assistant coach I've talked to, it seems like they're overflowing with coaching acumen. They just know what they're doing. They have quiet confidence about themselves. And again, we haven't seen Norvell coach here, but what gives you reason to be optimistic that it's not just the way he carries himself off the field is he just took Memphis to the Cotton Bowl. So he has the goods to back up the perception. You know what I mean? I think it's more than just perception or optics. He has the goods with what he did at Memphis the last 4 years that should give all Florida State fans, it should encourage a lot of Florida State fans that this guy knows what he's doing. And I'm telling you, you're right. Some of these assistant coaches, well, not some, everyone I've talked to has been really, really impressive.
And to echo what Corey said, not just our impressions, because we've been able to talk to all the assistants, talk to Mike Norvell a few times, and it's really impressive. You talk to him like, wow, this guy's very organized. He's got his thoughts and everything else. It's not just that. It's talking to people around them. You talk to somebody within athletics that works with them every day. We've talked to some high school coaches that had the chance to interact with him before everything got locked down. And again, it's been consistent. The impression they have on him, it's the same thing, man. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's organized. We've seen a few examples with his coaching hires. I mean, he had one coach suddenly get a job somewhere else. He went out and hired another coach within a couple of days. It might even be better. Because we saw in the past, but I don't want to throw the last coach under the bus, but when sometimes things didn't work out with his coaching hires, he's doing a Hail Mary and pulling some guy in that really probably shouldn't have been a coach here or there. And it backfired, obviously, we saw last year. But this guy's got plans on top of plans, and that's something that's been severely lacking. So, so far, again, nothing on the field, as Corey said. We haven't seen any coaching, but in terms of what we can gather so far, really impressive.
The one thing I would say is a lot of people are watching. A lot of people at home are watching this and thinking, "Well, you guys hyped up the last staff as well." The difference I would say is that most of the compliments we heard from people around the building when Willie's staff came in was that they were nice guys. Like that compared to Jimbo, they were nice, they were friendly, they were happy to be here. Well, that doesn't do anything for you on the field. So yes, there were positive things said about that staff, but it wasn't about the coaching ability. It wasn't about those types of things. So I think there's a difference there, a tangible difference. Yeah, I think this staff is a real deal. I think Norvell's a real deal. I think you're going to see a major improvement whenever they play again.
Nice.
Whenever that is.
Okay. Yeah, whenever that is.
All right, Coleman, Noel, man, we appreciate the call, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks, man.
Luck in Raleigh. I liked Raleigh.
Hey, thank you.
Raleigh.
I'm gonna go to the NC State game this year, but I guess not.
No.
Next year, buddy. Next 2022.
Hey, if you do go, keep your
sorry.
head on. No, that's all right. I was going to say, tell him to keep his head on a swivel.
Yeah.
That's a rough.
I like Raleigh.
Dodge those bags of urine.
We had a good little dinner together.
That's right. That's we dubbed that the Whiz Palace.
Yeah, it's a rough crowd. It's a
All
rough
right,
crowd.
let's see here. Somebody had a question that Ira probably knows the answer to. Jim Harrison, What are you hearing about budget cuts in athletics regarding trainers, SIDs, media relations? I mean, that's at least the latter part of that. That was some of the cut downs, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like they went small cuts across from what we know, kind of across various departments. There was some in sports information office. There was some, I've heard in marketing and sales, facilities, the athletic training department, some operations type positions. So it's not like they just eliminated one department. It was a few cuts here and there.
All right, look at that. You're just a pro, Ira. You know, like when to wrap up your thoughts. It's amazing, man. Oh, and look at that.
Awesome.
Hung up on it.
They hung up.
You're the opposite of a pro.
They're done.
Wow.
Never taken that.
They were not going to wait for you, Ira.
That's all right.
I believe it. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Vanderbilt, I think I heard slash their media relations department pretty severely. So,
but they've got that crazy. They switched their athletic department to be part of like intramurals a few years ago, and they've changed. So now they're putting communications underneath the university as well. I'll stop talking.
No, it wasn't your fault. It's never your fault, Ira. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Welcome on into the Warchant.com happy hour. You got Gene Williams, Ira Schofel, Corey Clark, a whole bunch of Florida State fans around the world listening to you on YouTube. Who we got?
It's Jeremy. How you guys doing?
Hey,
Jeremy.
How you doing?
Good, Jeremy. How are you, man?
Hanging in there. I started my day with you guys, and I'm finishing it with you guys. So,
it's the way to work it, man. It's the way to do it. Loyalty. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll just try to liven the mood a little. If you guys could sit down with any former athlete at FSU or coach and have a beer and just ask them anything, who would that athlete or coach be, and what would your question be?
Jimbo Fisher next. Who wants to go?
You'd go for a long weekend with Jimbo.
That's right.
And he'd bring some of those superpowers with him.
Man,
off the deep end there.
I'm trying. I want to say somebody from Jimbo's era, but like Randy Sanders, maybe.
Okay.
Just to know what it was like. Just to know, or maybe I bet Pruitt or like Sal Sinceri have some stories from 13 and 14.
Yeah. Pruitt is not an exciting individual, man. You talk to him, he would not be somebody you want to have a beer with.
Maybe Sal.
Sal, yeah.
He's old enough. He's enough of a veteran. I think he'd have some loose lips.
The thing about
to talk to.
Thing that's funny about Sal Sinceri is he's like the one guy literally in the 10 years Jimbo was here, assistant coach and head coach, that like they would have conversations and Jimbo would listen as much as he did talk. Like for whatever reason, that guy had his complete respect. And I don't know if it's because he was a really good player or just his coaching ability, but when they spoke, Sal did a lot of the talking, sometimes more of the talking. It's kind of interesting. Gene, you got an answer?
Yeah, I don't know if he really drinks, but man, just to sit down with Mickey, just to sit down with Mickey Andrews and go through some of the stories and those great defenses and just reminisce. I mean, that would be fantastic to be able to do that over the time. I would say Bobby Bowden, but we know he doesn't. I think he told me at one point, no drop of alcohol has ever touched his lips. So,
do you think Jeff Bowden, now that we're 13 years removed from that, would he be honest and say, yeah, I wasn't over my head, I was bad for the program? Do you think he would do that now, like with hindsight?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think Jeff thought it was his fault, but he was willing to leave. I mean, if you guys remember, he had agreed to leave the year before, but Coach Bowden didn't want him to leave. He didn't want him to quit. And so, I don't think Jeff was like married to that position. I think he just did it because he thought he could help.
But could he tell us like what went wrong? Like what happened, man? He has to own up to some of it. I mean, it wasn't just an innocent bystander in the demise of the best program in the country. But I wonder if he could pinpoint, like, yeah, that's when I knew it was wrong, or we needed a QB coach because I was a wide receivers coach and we didn't have a good one. I think that would be a really interesting conversation if he could be reflective and like admit mistakes, which I feel like he would.
All right, there we go. What about you, Jeremy? Who would you want to be able to have some drinks with?
Honestly, I would love to sit with Jimbo and get his side of the story.
There you go.
His side of the story. I think it was $75 million.
Sit with some Evan. What is it? Evan Williams? Is that the whole thing that he's
green label? Some green label.
Yeah, but let him pay.
All right, Jeremy. Hopefully, we'll see you in Miami later on this year, whenever the game's played. It's going to happen.
Oh, that would be great.
My God, feels
Take care, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
See you, Jeremy.
What about Tony Cleveland, guys? If we follow the Big 12 conference, I think he maybe means the Big 10 conference. We going from 12 games to 9 or 10? Is this was wishful thinking 10? 9 in a +1 model? That's what I think Gene and you, Ira, spoke about in the video. I think even Corey was talking about it, but I'm like, I don't want to complicate it. Just play football in September, October, November.
It sounds like they got a bunch of scenarios. There was one that David Teal and a couple of North Carolina ACC writers were talking about on Twitter today about having like three 5-team pods, and you'd play the
Each
4
team
teams
twice.
Yeah, you'd play the 4 teams in your pod twice, and then
Home
two teams from and then 2 teams from other divisions. I don't know. My guess is that's one of several scenarios they're looking at, and that's probably part of the reason why this is going to go on until late July as they try to figure it out.
I don't want a home and home with Miami in the same year, right? I don't want.
You might have a home and home with Clemson, because if you do this scenario, think about it. It's going to be regionalized, right? You're going to, in your pods, it's going to be your regions. You're going to have Miami and Clemson and probably Georgia Tech in your pod. So you're going to have to do a home and home with Clemson?
Think of the numbers those Syracuse-Pittsburgh games are going to get.
Oh my gosh.
2
NBC. Just put Wake in that pod too and just forget about it.
Oh man.
What they should do is that pod that's got BC and Syracuse, and like they should relegate whoever doesn't first, like send them to the A10 or something.
Yeah, they get to go to the AAC.
Oh man.
But Notre Dame would be a part of that, right? If they did 3, because that would be 15 teams.
Well, Notre Dame, Notre Dame's begging right now because a lot of their games have been eliminated. So they're finally, the ACC has them over a barrel. Yeah, because that's their only hope, is to be like, oh, we're in the ACC, aren't we? So now we want to play all these games against ACC teams. So I say you got them over a barrel and say, boom, time to join full time.
Yep, that's what I would do too, Gene. And if they say nope, say, oh well.
Well, then you're out of luck. We'll see you this year.
Go play Army and Tulane, I guess.
How about this question from the warchant.com tribal council? Use the promo code warchant30. It's scrolling at the bottom of your screen. No excuse. Adam McCaswell? I don't know. I'm terrible with Irish names. The dollar amount of Taggart's remaining buyout seems to have even more meaning and importance with these recent budget cuts. Have you heard any updates regarding that contract issue? Any savings would be huge for the program?
I mean, people have kind of had this hope from the beginning that Florida State's going to be able to reduce that amount. I don't think they are, or not significantly. As Willie so eloquently said when he was on some Bianchi show or somebody, I'm going to get my money. And Florida State's going to pay. And it was interesting that David Coburn, who is, isn't always super talkative of the media, in that letter he sent to his staff, which we have up on the site, people can read it. He says that it's not just the COVID crisis that's causing this issue. It's also slow ticket sales, donations to the athletic sport, to Seminole boosters, and also the expenses for changing the coaching staffs. So that's part of it. There's no doubt that's part of it.
A big part. That's, what is it, $15 million, $16 million?
Maybe 18, maybe.
Yeah. And they just had to cut 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's a perfect storm. I mean, every athletic department has their issues, but Florida State, if you look at season ticket sales the last 2 years, and Gene's got some stuff he's writing about the finances. I mean, season ticket sales the last 2 years have gone in the tank. I think they lost like $13 million in the athletic department last year. How many the year before, Gene? What was it, 3 or 6 million?
It was like 3.8, something like that, million.
So, I mean, over the last 2 years, they've lost like $15 million. They come into this year after having to pay off Willie Taggart, bring in a new staff, and now you're talking about a stadium that, if games are played, might only have 15 or 20,000 fans. I mean, it's just.
So you don't think, honestly, Ira, you don't think if they went to Willie Taggart and said, we are renaming Doak Campbell Stadium after you, and all it costs you is $16 million.
He negotiated.
Until you pass, it's going to be named after you. You don't think that he would at least think about it a little bit?
No. I mean, would you?
For $16 million?
Of course I would. $16 million. My name's where Florida State plays. Welcome on into Corey Clark Stadium.
You wouldn't rather have $16 million?
Of course I would. I'm just saying, it's wishful thinking, man.
That's what this whole thing has been, wishful thinking. Like, people are just hoping that Willie's going to, settle for some less amount. I know some people have thought that there might be reasons with cause or different reasons where FSU could get out of it. I just don't think they fired him for losing. They didn't fire him for anything else. They fired him for losing. And when you fire somebody for losing, you end up having to pay the contract.
I'll say I want to add, I know we were talking about the amount of fans in the stands. I thought it was interesting today. It came out, somebody, I forget if I should know this, but one of the ESPN writers, I think, tweeted out that Jacksonville's, what is the name of Jacksonville Stadium? I lose track. It was Alltel after that I gave out. It's
TIAA.
Some bank. Yeah.
It's the house that Xavier Lee built.
There you go. So they have officially put out that they're going to do a 25% capacity for Jacksonville Jaguar home games this year, and they've got all the protocols and everything how they're going to do it in place. So I think that's a good instructional manual for Florida schools, Florida State, Florida, USF, and all them to maybe follow that model. But even then, like we've talked about, 25, that may be the best case scenario, 25%. So that's a pretty huge chunk out of your revenue that comes in from football each year.
It's that's if the games are played.
Even if they're played, that's again best case scenario.
It's bleak.
And it is TIAA Bank Stadium now. Well done.
Right,
well done.
And the other thing I did want to say, not to bring it down even more, but I did want to give a shout out to some of our friends in the athletics department who got awful calls this week and were laid off. And then also everybody in the athletics department is going to have pay cuts and possible furloughs down the road. So we talk in big picture a lot of times when we talk about, the sports and the budget numbers and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's real people in a lot of these cases. And
these aren't people that are making, $600,000 where they can take a 10% pay cut and it won't hurt that bad. These are, 10%, 7.5% pay cuts are huge, huge hits to all these people.
So, and I know there's a lot of people that politicized all this with the virus and the masks and all. Everybody really needs to hope that, if you love college sports and college athletics and college football, that they can play some sort of football this fall because they desperately need to.
If they don't, the whole sport, all of college sports, I think, are in huge trouble if they end up missing. I wrote about that yesterday. That it's going to be seismic, the impact on college sports if it doesn't happen.
Well, I'm going to go get another beer.
Can you grab me one? I'm wired in. I can't get up and move. It's terrible, man. It's heartbreaking almost.
Some bourbon.
Yeah. Ryan one shouts out Coleman Nolan, says, "Great call, my man. I wasn't around for that, the 1972 game, but I feel your pain. Be safe, brother." Hey, let's take a phone call. 407. That's Orange County or Florida, I think. Welcome
Orlando.
Happy Hour. You got Gene Williams, Irish O'Fell, Corey Clark shortly, and a whole bunch of Florida State fans across the country listening and the world. Who's this?
Hey, this is John from Orlando. How you guys doing?
John from Orlando. Good, man. How are you, John?
Hey, I have a big question. I know we're not playing the Gators this year, but
wait.
Yeah, maybe.
Not off yet.
Well, what I saw everything as they were playing Virginia Tech. Why in the partnership heck are we going to play Virginia Tech? I have no interest in playing Virginia Tech. I want the Gators every year, and I want to stomp them back to the swamp. That's what I want to see. I like to see Chuba just run all over them and just give the ball and just have a good day with them. Shut that defense up. Thanks, guys.
I love the enthusiasm.
All right, man. I like so do I. But maybe if we need to take a year off, maybe it won't be a bad idea to take a year off this year.
Look, I can't see. Look, I don't know where he's getting that from, but I don't see why Florida, if they're going to go to a conference only schedule, there's no reason why you wouldn't allow those end of season in-state rivalries to continue. There's nothing.
Yeah, there's four of them.
Yeah, if you want to keep the consistency within the conference, the regular season for the ACC is over before that Florida game, before the Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia Tech. The other one is Louisville, Kentucky. Those are after the season. They're in state, so you got the regional thing. The conference schedule's over. There's no reason not to play those games. I can't imagine the ACC or the SEC is going to come out and say, well, you can play the conference, but you can't play your in-state rivals at the end of the year. It doesn't make any sense. So I think if there's a conference-only schedule, those games are still going to be there.
What's odd about it, though, I just wrote a column about it that'll be up at some point, is that
in the morning, Saturday morning,
SEC are the only schools that have this. Like UCLA, the teams in the Pac-12, their biggest rivals are conference rivals. Same with the Big Ten. It's Ohio State, Michigan. It's Michigan, Michigan State. The Pac-12 is Oregon, Oregon State, USC, UCLA, Washington, all that, Arizona State. But the ACC, your two marquee programs, their biggest rivals are non-conference teams, in-state non-conference teams. So you can't just go and say flat out, okay, we're just going to go to the conference-only model, because you have obstacles that those other conferences don't have to worry about. Oklahoma and Texas are in the same conference.
Iowa and Iowa State aren't, though. The Cyhawk game is
Nobody cares about. I said big rivalries. Nobody cares about Iowa State.
Funny. I just don't know, like, why complicate it, man? Everybody play 10 games, play conference schedule, figure out the 4 best teams, play a playoff. It's 1 year. I mean, I want to play fall football. And
but what does it hurt? What does it hurt to have those games at the end of the year?
I don't think that affects anything.
Nothing.
I don't know. I just think, how are you going to work out the schedule? So then it's a 9 and a +1 sort of model. Then, like, who does Pitt play then? And they're +1.
Who cares?
So you play an extra game. What does it matter? You're bringing money into those teams.
Clemson, FSU and Clemson play extra games. What does Pitt care? Where are they going to complain? Where are they going to go?
Well, Pitt can play West Virginia.
Tell them to go schedule Penn State. Go work that out with them.
Yeah, they can do that.
Hey, one thing about Chuba is, did you see that? I don't know, Aslan, did you see the thing on Twitter? Matt Campbell, Iowa State's coach, talking about their Purdy, Brock today on Twitter.
No, it happened.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's like it's like Jimbo talking about Christian. I mean, it's just how he's a coach on the field. It changes everything. He wants to win. He makes everybody better. I mean, it literally he talks about him like he's a family member. And if Chuba is
the Serena.
If he's Serena, if he's the better one, oh my gosh!
Telling you.
That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes. It's like a really good quarterback, man. I mean,
hey, we got a little breaking news from Chuck Walsh at FSU Sports.
Oh boy, we don't have
something good though. I think is coming.
Well, I guess the basketball team signed a kid named Tanner Nagam from Ryerson University in Canada. Guess how tall he is, Ira? Take a guess.
7 feet.
7'2".
There you go.
Nice.
So 7'2". I don't know where he's from originally. He might be a Canadian, but he averaged 10.6 points and 6.6 rebounds in his 60 career games at Ryerson University in Canada.
Last time they went to Canada, they did pretty well.
Well, yeah, that's a pipeline, man. They own the North.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know has that kid ever announced?
The Cisse or the
has he signed?
No, I mean it's Cisse. Before, when he was going to commit a month ago, everybody thought for sure it was going to be LSU. Then recently, now that because he delayed it, there's talk it's going to be Memphis. Florida State would obviously love to get him. He's one of the best big men in the country, but it's now people are saying it's going to be Memphis, which may explain why Florida State brought in my man from Canada here.
Hey man,
what does it say? Is he's 22 and a half years old, right? Is that what that says?
This is the other guy. This isn't Cisse.
The guy this is the guy they just signed.
Yeah.
He's 22 years old. All right, that's good.
Yeah. All right.
If he can protect the rim, that's what they need. I mean, they've got plenty of. I mean, I think this team, when you bring in Scotty Barnes and Calhoun, I mean, this is going to be a good Florida State basketball team. If this guy can protect the rim, they also have the other 7-footer they signed, which should help as well. But that's the one thing they really lacked last year.
Look at this guy. How about my guy? He's from Ikra Bilingual Academy. This is high school. They do good seasoning out there. I like it. Good job, Ham. Good job, Ham.
All right, got you. A couple 7-footers. He wouldn't be able to sleep at night if he didn't have a couple 7-footers on the roster. He'd just get the shakes.
So do we think if football doesn't happen, that basketball will happen?
It's totally different. I mean, it's just a small pool you can easily control. Not amount of guys versus 100 guys. I mean, yeah, I think you can. I mean, we're seeing it right now in the NBA. We'll see with the NBA when they launch here pretty shortly.
Hey, we got a phone call. Let's take it. What's going on? Welcome to the Warchant.com Happy Hour. Who's this?
Hey, guys. This is Mike from Ocala, a.k.a. MCATDT77. How's everybody doing?
All right, man. Watching Chiefs all the darn time. What's going on?
Yes, sir. So anyway, obviously with the Big Ten announcement yesterday, and these other conferences haven't really made an announcement. So hypothetically, like, what if the other conferences decide to play their entire schedule, and then the Big Ten is only left with 8 or 9 games, And then, I imagine this has huge implications on the college football playoffs, because then you have all these different teams that aren't really judged or fairly in the eyes of the committee, because one school, they played 12, or another school, they played 9. So how do you really choose who gets in at this point, since that's kind of the ultimate goal? So, what's you guys take on that?
It's a good question.
Well, didn't Bill Hancock, the CFP chairman, I think, said that their job is not going to change at all, but they got to pick the 4 best teams. I mean, there's going to be football games played. You can see them, you can watch them, you can figure it out.
No, that's exactly right. But I think about a team last year, I think that was pretty much undefeated, at least week 9 or 10. Was it Minnesota? I think they started 8 or 0, or Iowa maybe also, maybe 2 years ago. I mean, and they looked really good up to that point. They lost a few towards the end, but still, I just feel like it kind of changes, how we look, because, teams can get really hot for the first couple months, and then have die away a little bit. But I just feel like, the way. Hello?
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, man. I think it's a valid question, because the margin for error for those Big Ten teams is going to be smaller. I don't know if a team only plays 8 games or 9 games, can they have a loss and beat out? So there's less margin for error. And then also, I think, you take into account if it just happens to be a really bad year for the Big Ten, then it could hurt. The other thing, and I think Gene mentioned a little bit in his article he wrote earlier, was, you not having those early season games eliminates the ability to kind of work your way into the season. If you're just playing those 8 conference games, you got to be ready. Especially, Florida State, if they kept this schedule, their first game of the season would be NC State, right?
Yeah.
At NC State. I mean, that's a tough place for Florida State to play traditionally.
Well, there won't be anybody there.
Yeah, Chuba's first start on the road in the Wiz Palace. That's tough.
So no, I think that's a valid question. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think there's no way that a 7-1 Michigan State team gets into a playoff over a 11-1 team from another conference. There's just no chance. I mean, but that's a bridge we'll cross when we get there. But yes, I definitely think that if everybody else played a full schedule and the one conference didn't, then imagine all the pressure from those other conferences to not reward the team that didn't play all the games. There's no way, even like last year, I don't see any chance an undefeated Minnesota team at 8-0 that didn't have to play Ohio State is getting into the playoff over even a 10-2 team that played a whole conference schedule. Or a whole schedule. I don't see that happening.
I think we're going to have more controversy, assuming there's a fall season, we've ever had before, because not only the things about scheduling and whether some play conference or not. I mean, there could be certain teams that I think it's a good scenario or a logical scenario. Some schools are just going to go, we're not going to play. Maybe a handful of northern schools. And then so you're playing a limited schedule. Then what happens I think, Corey, you guys brought this up on Wake Up Warchant. What if Florida State plays Clemson? Trevor Lawrence that week tests positive. Florida State pulls off the win, but Clemson runs roughshod through all their other games. Does the committee go, well, we're not going to really count that game because they didn't have the best player in college football playing? So, I mean, it's going to be that committee. It's going to be crazy trying to work this. And we just discussed earlier about what if Florida State plays an extra game, Clemson plays an extra game. Some of these schools may play one other rival non-conference where other schools are playing one less game. So Florida State, let's throw this out that we love this hypothetical. Florida State beats Florida, who was undefeated in the SEC at the end of the year. Are they going to penalize them for that? They're not going to let them in the playoff. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens after the season concludes.
Can't wait to see it. I hope we get controversy this year, Gene. I hope there's a bunch of controversy.
It's going to happen.
December.
Agreed. And for these big scenarios, this is why we absolutely need a commissioner or someone that's in charge of the NCAA, because it's just so hard, because if they only play 8 and everybody else plays 12, it's like, you're right. They can't take a loss anywhere, especially. And another point is, that Ohio State-Oregon game, I think they were meant to play the first week. Is that what it was?
Yeah. They were in September for sure, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a huge game for both of those teams. Whoever wins, that's a big care for them. And whoever loses, that could be their only loss. That could have a big decision in the eyes of the committee. They could have a big decision to make based on that. But since that's not going to happen anymore, I feel like that game only helps the winner. Whoever takes that, whoever wins that, whoever would have won that only helps them towards the end. But But anyway, those are some thoughts that I've had now that, at least one conference has made the decision to cut the season short. And I mean, I guess since we don't have a president or commissioner, there's no guarantees that the others will follow suit. I mean, you assume that they will, but it's not a promise right now. So it's like we're just kind of up in the air with how we're going about the season. Hello?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had to predict, I mean, I think we have been hearing for several weeks, as Gene alluded to earlier, that the ACC wasn't real comfortable playing these non-conference games against like Samford in schools that maybe don't have the money to do the testing and don't have the same protocols. So non-conference games were getting pretty dicey there as it was. So my guess is they're not going to be playing non-conference games either, but we just don't know what the format's going to be, whether it's going to be like this 10-game round robin thing or whether it's going to be just the 8 or 9 conference games plus the one rivalry. We don't know what form it's going to take, but I would think all of us probably agree that we're probably not going to see West Virginia or Boise, those games getting played.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
And last question, does the Big Ten make that decision if Ohio State and Michigan are not in the same conference?
No.
Because like that.
Well, the game wouldn't be as important to them historically if they weren't in the same conference. So I think it's tough. I mean, I don't agree with Corey's like definitive no way, but I mean that's tough to say because they've been in the same conference.
But it is the marquee game in that conference. Ohio State's marquee game. So
it wouldn't be as big of a thing. It's like Florida.
But it would be to Ohio State. And Ohio State is the big dog in that conference. And you wouldn't just in the early July say, you know what, that huge rival that you have, that you played for 100 years, that your fan base cares about, you're not playing them this year. And Ohio State be like, oh, okay, cool. That's fine. It's July 8th? Of course we can make that decision. There would be some pushback, and they would not have made it just unilaterally if Michigan was in the Big 12. No chance. Now, they might have eventually, but they wouldn't be doing it July 8th because it's too big. It's too big to Ohio State. It's their game.
Right.
All right, Mike, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye-bye.
See all the documentaries on Ohio State, Michigan. Don't see any on Florida State, Florida.
That's going to be what we work on this fall, Corey.
You know what? We are going to work on that.
We're going to make that doc happen.
It's the doc on the 90s.
We don't need to wait for ESPN 30 for 30 to do it. It's your
iPhone
idea.
has a camera. Yeah, my iPhone has a camera.
Corey's got Spurrier on speed dial. We can bring him up, zoom him in.
Yeah,
We're talking about a coach you'd have to have some drinks with. I mean, if they were talking about a non-FSU coach I was going to go out and pop a few with, it'd probably be Spurs, right?
Spur dog.
He'd be fun.
Paul Johnson.
Spurs has rehabilitated his image in my eyes. I could hang with him.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I could hang with Spur.
I mean, he accused Florida State of cheating 30 years ago. Imagine the things he'd say now.
Look at Dr. Knoll, man. Look at Dr. Knoll with his
there we go. Solid.
Happy hour, man.
That's nice. Maker's mark.
Welcome on in to the Warchant.com happy hour. Who's this?
Jay.
Oh, Jay from
Jay.
Here we go. James Blackman, slanderer. What's up, man?
Hey, we love QB1. We love JP1.
No, you don't. It's okay. I'm trying to. You guys, your question. I'm gonna try and pull the video up so we can show everybody a guy not trying to get his head knocked off while his team is losing 35-0 against the number 2 team in the nation.
Oh, do you have it?
I'm gonna pull it up. Yeah, somebody commented.
Jay, I wanted to tell you, man. I was listening to the show and I heard your struggle trying to explain to these guys. I vividly remember the play. I'm really baffled at how they don't remember that play.
You said vividly, but then you couldn't remember who it was against.
Well, I remember what happened. I don't remember the circumstances. I was with you, Jay.
Hey, listen, I couldn't find the play either, but just the crazy.
Here we go. Got it, Aslan.
There we go. Stand by. Let's watch our.
I can't wait to watch this.
The Zapruder film.
This is like Mystery Science Theater. We get to comment on it. All right,
here we go.
Nothing,
of course.
Now I'm going to defend my man
35-0. What do you
want? Let's see, he's running.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I went into that.
Come on, man.
What's he gonna do there?
That's rough. That's a rough look. It's a rough
now,
look.
in his defense, is that the Simmons kid that was chasing him?
I don't remember, man, but come on.
Is that number 11? Is that their freakazoid that was the first round pick? But come on, man.
11.
I think he stumbled.
Maybe he stumbled and just avoided contact.
You guys, I don't know. Anyhow, Jay, it's okay, man. I still like you. I appreciate you calling in and giving us.
Good job finding that, Aslan. Good job finding that.
Well, it wasn't me. It was one of our posters on warchant.com. It was, who was it? I can't even find her name right now. BC Knowles 16. He tagged all of us. If you would actually look at your notifications, Corey, when everybody tagged
There you go. Oh, no, I did. Thanks, BC. Appreciate
you'd be able
that.
to see it. So, yeah. What's up, Jay?
Well, I mean, I would have liked them to just go out of bounds, but
That's fair. That's fair.
Or perhaps slide. But you know, hopefully one of these quarterbacks we got can slide, man, because we've been missing that in the past few years. Like our quarterbacks cannot slide to save their life.
Hey, you know something else they can do that I was watching I was telling Corey, I was watching the Memphis Ole Miss game last year, the season opener. They'll run quarterback sneaks. Mike Norvell will run a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
Quarterback under center.
From
Like
under
the goal line?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it might be a whole new day, Jay.
I remember that these drove me nuts with Jimbo wouldn't do that. It'd be a 4th and a foot, and he would not. He'd pitch it out wide to the short side. Drove me bananas.
Yeah. Dalvin in that same stadium on 4th and 1.
Oh God!
Austin just,
Bring up that memory.
That one hurt.
Sorry, Jay. Sorry to interrupt you, Jay.
Yeah, Jay, what's on your
No,
mind,
no,
man? Put me in place.
It's okay, man. Speaking of our quarterbacks, I noticed that, like, you know, a lot of times with our defensive ends, I know I give Janoris a hard time, but a lot of times those guys are gun shy because it's like we pull up and we just breathe on the quarterback and we get like a 15-yard penalty. But our quarterbacks, they throw the ball and the ball's gone for 2 seconds and somebody will like tear their head off and the referee just walks away like, oh, it's Florida State. You guys deserve it. No flag.
True story.
Well, I think Corey and I both wrote stories documenting the calls against Florida State. So you have statistical evidence that what Jay's telling us is factual.
Well, that was like 8 or 9 years ago at this point. But yes, it was alarming the number. I just did holds, but the number of holds called against Florida State and the number of holds called against Florida State opponents.
Well, remember, like James Blackman, the year he started as a freshman, like the Chubb kid just planted him into the turf like 3 times. And it was like the refs just stand there and watch it. Nothing at all.
Yeah, it's like they were saying, welcome to college football.
And you know what it reminds me of, guys? I don't know if you remember this. When Vince Carter played for the Orlando Magic, he went through a time in his career where, like, he was a foul magnet. If he would touch a player, he would get fouled.
Did
He would
Vince
get a
play
foul
for the
call.
Magic?
So what Vince would do, he'll be on defense and a player will drive towards him and he'll just like kind of turn his shoulder to avoid the contact, but the player will run into him anyway and they'll just blow the whistle. And it seems like Janoris and those guys, what happens is like they get the sack, they get ready to get the sack, but then they pull up because it's like, did he let the ball go? I don't want to hit him and then I get a penalty. So it's like, that's where a lot of the almost sacks come in, I think, or the QB hurries is a more, desirable stat that they turned it into.
Hurries.
But, just observation. But my question for you guys is, like, I know you guys are at the games most of the time, and I've been to a lot of games, but do you find like that you're able to see more watching the game on television or being home at the game? Because one thing I noticed in the past couple of years, especially that we've been like on a downturn, it's like these whoever calls the game, the commentary team, like we get like,
well,
hey, you're 7-6.
Yeah, you're getting the 7-6 commentators, man.
We don't get the cream of the crop, and sometimes it's like, and a lot of times I hear what these guys think of Florida State is pretty interesting because a lot of times these guys have like the same tech that I have, so they're very like blunt in how they feel and their view on the team. So a lot of times it's just very insightful to watch those games and that commentary.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like away games. I like being at the actual games, but I don't mind away games because I like watching it at home on the television because you get all the angles, man. The only thing in the press box, you actually do get to see like the interaction on the sidelines, which Ira has a PhD in. But that's the only benefit, really, I think.
Well, I think sometimes they may not always show that angle. I mean, being where the press box, we're above the top row, so you really get that kind of view on plays, secondary coverage, routes being run, that kind of thing. Sometimes they don't always show that on TV. So sometimes from that perspective, but you're right. Yeah, Ira's the man with the binoculars up there, always getting the vibe of the sideline. So that's always a good perspective.
I think you really got to do both. I mean, if you watch the replay, it's helpful. It's really helpful because sometimes the coaches will tell the TV people stuff that, in their pre-production meetings, like the pregame meetings, they'll tell them some stuff that's helpful to know. But I wouldn't want to not be at the game. But going back and watching it is definitely helpful. And a lot of times, there's a lot of times that things happen during the game that you don't realize it until you go back and watch the replay.
Oh, I almost sneezed. I had to mute my microphone. All right, Jay, you got anything else for us?
You all right, buddy?
I'm getting a little COVID in the air. It's all right. I'm by myself. On myself.
Hey, put your mask on, Aslan.
Yeah, really. Wrap your face up.
All right, Jay, we appreciate the call, man.
Thank you, Jay. Have a good weekend.
There we go.
All right, you too.
I'm gonna throw this out to you guys and see if what FSU athlete, but the Vince Carter example up. What's the FSU athlete you can think of that was like the same that got screwed? There's one in my mind as soon as he said that the
Trey Marshall
got screwed by Trey Marshall.
Trey Marshall.
Corey, what do you think?
I was going to say Akara White.
Okay, I was going to go back a little further. How about Andre Reed?
Oh yeah,
remember that guy? I mean, anybody went near him. It was just he would get the ACC official to nail him up every time.
He was like the 8th guy on a really good team, but he was 7 feet, so they had to play him. And it's like the referees know if you're not very good, and if you bump a dude, they're always going to assume it's your fault.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, we've hit an hour. People are arguing about why am I wearing blue and orange. I don't know. That's how life works.
Boise colors.
Have you spent a night in Alachua County jail for taking a bar stool to a Gator fan's face? You have. Don't question my loyalty.
I've never heard that story. Is that true?
Hey, that's got to be a good wake-up war change. You did a whole episode on that.
I've never done that, but I mean, this is a gift to me. This is one of these like keeps you cool rags. I was playing golf and it keeps you cool, and I got my blue Masters hat on, so I wore my blue shirt.
How'd you hit him?
Terrible. It wasn't good. You know what is good though? Warchant.com. We have some recruiting news that'll probably drop, I think, this weekend. All right. Florida State making a move with a prospect from Corey's old stomping grounds. Well, not
correct.
Really, but Lowndes.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, I lived there for a year.
You did. So that's right. That's right. Yep. Lowndes is in Valdosta, right?
Well, Valdosta's in Lowndes. It's the county. Yeah. Greg Reed from there.
That's right. Justin. That's the other one. What was the South Carolina school they got a bunch of kids from?
Burns.
Burns. There we go. Burns.
That's like a big power. I think they're talking about changing the name.
Oh.
That may not have been the best name. I think from what I've seen on Twitter.
What's their mascot?
Okay.
What's their mascot? Or the Burns?
I don't know. Good question.
All right.
Look it up.
Anything else cooking on warchant.com this weekend, Ira?
Yeah, Corey's got his column. Corey, why don't you tee up your column? It's going to be running in the morning.
It's just a column that Gene talking about what Gene talked about is like if you can figure out a way to have there's 4 rivalries in the ACC and the SEC that play at the end of the year. Maybe Louisville, Kentucky's at the beginning of the year, and that's to a lesser extent.
They played that last week.
They? Okay, so those are 4 in-state big rivalries to those fan bases, and it's just going to be hard to pitch to Florida State fans. Look, you can't play Florida, who's 2 hours down the road. It has similar testing protocols as you, probably the exact same. But, hey, you're going to get to play Syracuse again or Boston College or Wake. Like, that's just – at some point you take care of your marquee schools. Florida State and Clemson are the marquee programs in this conference. So let them play their in-state rivals. It won't be any skin off anybody's back. It shouldn't affect anything at all. And if Pitt has a problem with it, go somewhere else. The Big East is always looking for football teams.
All right. It'll be a doozy. Read it and then comment, and we'll talk about it on the podcast, I'm sure. The Burns Rebels, thanks to Derek Adams. The Burns Rebels, that's what their names are. So, all right. Yeah, that might not work. All right. Anyhow, we'll be working for you as we do always. Check out warchant.com. Stay connected. Use that promo code WARCHANT30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate sell sports source. If you like what we did at any point, which you should have, hit the thumbs up on the YouTube button. Subscribe and all that sort of stuff. Gentlemen, we'll see you next week, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
Have a good one, everybody.
Have a good weekend, boys.